Grandparents don't have rights. If you're a grandparent, you don't have a right to visit with your grandchild. It's a mistake to believe that. Here's the deal. If you are a parent, you have an absolute right, constitutional right, to determine who your child associates with, what school they go to, what church they go to, if they go to church at all, who their friends are, and whether or not they can see the grandparents. The only exception to that is if an absence of a relationship with the grandparent poses a substantial risk of harm to the child. And that's the only way the court can abridge the absolute rights of a parent to decide who their child associates with. Now, in 99% of the cases, grandparents play an integral role in a child's life. But in those cases where the parents and grandparents can't get along, grandparents don't have rights. How does divorce affect your credit rating? That's an interesting question. It shouldn't have any effect on your credit rating whatsoever. The mere fact that you're going through a divorce does not in and of itself affect your credit rating. However, what happens if, let's say you file for divorce, your spouse gets served, and you have bills. You have a house note, you have car notes, you have credit card bills, student loans, whatever. Who's going to pay what? Because there's no order when you file a divorce saying that one party or the other has to pay certain bills. So who's going to pay the bills? And which bills are each one of you going to be responsible for? It's all marital debt, probably. Well, if you can't agree, then you got to go to court and get the judge to make that determination. You got to do it as quickly as possible. But the best way to do it is to agree with your spouse on who's going to pay what. Who's going to pay what credit card bills, car note, house note, etc. That's the best way to do it. If you don't, it can affect your credit because things won't be getting paid. One of the hardest concepts for people to grasp while going through a divorce is the fact that every penny that they make during the marriage is considered marital property, even while the divorce is pending. That means money that you make, that you invest in the stock market, that you put into a 401k, that you put into other retirement accounts, IRA, bank accounts, whatever it is, it's going to be considered marital property if it was accumulated during the marriage. For some reason, people can't grasp that concept. People think that if it's their money that they're making, then whatever they buy with it, whatever they do with it is theirs. It's not the other party's, and that's not true. Marital property is that property that is accumulated between the time that you get married and the time the judge bangs the gavel and says you are divorced. That's the law in Tennessee. Different states may be different, but the law in Tennessee is pretty clear. It's marital property. A dad came in and hired me about a year ago to represent him in a child support case. He had been living with the mom up until about a year prior, and mom had filed for child support. Here was the problem. Dad had a job making about $80,000 a year as a mechanic. He lost that job. Now he was only making about $30,000 a year, difference of $50,000. Well, that difference in $50,000 meant from $900 a month in child support to $350 a month in child support. Here was the problem. He lost the job because he falsified records and he got fired. It was his own misconduct. So we get to court, all the proof is introduced, and the judge finds that he should have to pay child support based on that $80,000 a year figure because he had falsified records and he got fired, and that was his own misconduct that caused him to lose that good paying job. And he had the ability to make $80,000 a year. You think that's fair? So what happens if you go to jail and you've got a child support obligation? Does it stop? Well, until about a year ago, the answer was no, it didn't stop. It continued to accumulate while you were in jail, and in some states, that's still the law. The theory being that whatever conduct you engaged in to put you in jail should not be used as a basis to reduce your child support. Well, the law changed about a year ago, in May actually of last year in Tennessee, to where now incarceration can be used as a grounds for reducing child support or eliminating it altogether. So if you're incarcerated and don't have any income, then you can petition the court to get a reduction in child support. Just make sure you petition the court before you get incarcerated, before you go to jail. Because once you go to jail, it's going to be difficult to get back into court to modify that child support. So make sure you file that petition before you go to jail so that the court can take that into consideration in reducing or setting child support.